Hey gang, John Baccarelli here with the Lake St. Clair Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. It is Thursday, February 13th. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, if that means anything to you. But I was reminded of that today, that tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Been getting a lot of phone calls about the different access sites around the lake. And up until Monday, I was able to say that, there are no issues at any of the access sites. Everybody's driving machines on, yada, yada, yada. Driving trucks on up at the north end of the lake. Driving machines on just about everywhere. That was until Monday, when somebody decided to drop a truck through the ice at Crocker Road, right in the mouth of the canal heading out to the lake. And not only did they drop a truck through, but they also dropped an ATV through right alongside of it. Buddy of mine sent me video of that, and then I went down there later in the week to check it out. I actually went down, I think, the next day and checked it out. And so they do have barricades blocking access to the actual boat launch, and I know people have been driving around it or walking around it, but so I would not go out the mouth of that canal. I'm not sure what happened there. We did have water level drop, and when that water level dropped, it could have created like a bridge with a pocket underneath of it. But I was also getting reports from guys telling me that ice right there was just sketchy for about the last week or so going out. So maybe there's something funky going on with the current being so close to the spillway. I don't know. Whatever it is, that mouth of that canal is not safe for machine travel. And even with the cold weather that we got coming, I probably wouldn't risk that, considering that if you look back over towards the old boat launch there at that Clinton River cutoff. So if you look to the north, you're going to see that guys are getting machines on by driving through that little swampy area and then getting up right onto the ice and then going out from there. So you can completely bypass the actual boat launch itself, and there's a spot where the guys have been putting their machines on and getting on the ice just a little bit to the north of the boat launch area through that little marshy area. And now with all the snow, it should be readily apparent where everybody is getting on after, a day or so of travel by the guys that are doing it every day. So enough said about that. There's a lot of ice on the lake right now. If we look at the satellite image, that there was a pretty good chunk of open water about the end of last week out there. And in the last report, you remember I talked about it, and it kind of wrapped around the point and then went down towards the Detroit River. The latest satellite imagery, you can see that has shrunken considerably. Okay, and with the cold weather, and I'll talk about that in a second, that we got coming next week, that's going to be gone. And we're going to be back to 100% ice up once again, I'm sure. Not that you're necessarily going to be able to go out into those open water areas. I don't know how thick they're going to be, but they're definitely going to all ice cover, and we're going to be locked up again. So let's talk about the weather going into next week a little bit. We've got some more snow coming, I guess, on Saturday, maybe another duplicate of what we just had today. So they're calling for 4 to 6 inches or so. I think it's going to be kind of more of a long duration thing. It may last all day Saturday and go into Saturday night, so I don't know how heavy it's going to be. It doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of wind. It looks like the wind event is happening right now, so any blowing and drifting that we're going to get with all that snow is probably going to come within the next 12 hours, I believe. And then maybe we're going to get, it looked like maybe 15 mile an hour winds maybe on Sunday or something like that. But it's hard to tell with the winds and everything what it's actually going to do. But one thing to pay attention to is next week we're going to get like some of the coldest temperatures of the year so far. Basically another polar vortex like what we had about a month ago. So it's going to even make everything thicker. We're getting reports all around the lake of 20 inches plus of ice in most locations. And I'm getting, some people are talking like over 2 feet of ice in some places. So that's a lot of ice, okay? So definitely don't be bringing the spud bars out there. You really need to have an auger, ideally cordless drill powered or power auger, to get through that thick of ice. with any kind of consistency if you're going to want to move around. So, you can try a hand auger, but man, you're going to get a workout. But so a lot of ice out there where all the guys are fishing. But what I was going to say is with that front coming through on Saturday, even though it may not be the nicest conditions to be out there hopping around on a bucket, the bite could be pretty darn good during that snow event. So I know the bite just before this snow event that we had was really good for the guys that fished. Yesterday morning, the guys that were out there did really good on walleye and did really good on perch. So, as these fronts are moving through, take advantage of them. The bite usually goes up. It usually gets a lot better during these different weather events that we've been or that we've had and that we're going to have. So, let's see. As far as big fish coming in, we've had a lot of big fish coming into the store. It's the bite has still been going. It's just that the fish are getting to the size now that, when we see 1.5-pound perch come in, it's like ho hum, because we really are with like the big perch contest, we're at 1.86, and the big bluegill we're at 1.6. So unless you're catching like a Goliath fish, there's no pictures going up on the internet right now, with the exception of my buddy Fly Rod John, who has just gotten into the whole pike spearing thing. He does this every year about this time. Towards the end, he switches over from perch and panfish, and then he goes after northerns. And so I think he's bested himself like 3 times in the last week. And this latest one I think is like 11 pounds, 32 inches. And then he was in the store today, and he I don't know if he missed one or he saw a monster come in today that would have dwarfed that last one he just brought in. So look to see more northerns coming in from Fly Rod, because that's his thing right now, and he does it every day. So I'm sure he's going to get a much bigger northern before the end of the season. That's almost a given. Overall, the bite has been pretty good. Okay, the guys are still catching perch, and yes, there is still a shallow bite that I talk about all the time, and there's been a deep bite, especially off of the beach. You got a shallow bite in front of the flagpole area, or down towards the point, or down in tight from day sail towards Geno's, but then you got that deep water bite that the guys are out there in 10, 11, 12 feet of water out by those jams, and they're catching perch and walleye, and there's a lot of catfish showing up out there too. So guys are really getting their tackle tested by some of these big cats, and I'm talking like 8 and 10 plus pound catfish that are cruising around out there. So it's basically kind of out in front of the mouth of the spillway area. So there's all these big cats mixed in with these perch and these walleye out there. So you don't quite know. And usually this time of the year too, there's a few sturgeon poking around out there that'll really make things interesting if you hook one of those. And I've had reports of guys seeing sturgeon but not hooking any yet, but they're out there. So but yeah, so there's a deep bite and a shallow bite, and we've also been getting some reports of some mid-depth bites now too as well, and that would be in like the 6 foot of water range, kind of to the south of the day sail ramp down towards Geno's. So, and that's gonna, especially with now that we've got some snow cover, and you got some darkness down there underneath the ice, right? You got a lot less light penetration with all this snow cover. I think you're going to start to see more activity in those mid-depths and even in shallow as well. Oxygen deprivation on Lake St. Clair generally isn't a thing out on the main lake, so it's not like we get activity levels that really fall off when we get to the mid part of the wintertime. Some of these canals this year, on the other hand, with the thick ice and the really super low water levels, you might start to see some oxygen issues in some of these canals and these backwaters, but generally not out here on the main lake. And as I've reported before, there's been significant open water out in the main part of the lake as well too. So you're still getting oxygen mixing, and you've still got a flow coming down out of the St. Clair River up out of Lake Huron. So it's not like you don't have oxygenated water. So that's generally not a thing for us. Not like it is maybe in some of the inland lakes or ponds or things like that when the ice gets really thick. We should still have plenty of oxygen in there going through the rest of the winter here for the rest of the season. So as snow's going to quiet things down, it's going to get a little darker. Don't forget to try using glow-in-the-dark jigs now that it's going to get really dark underneath that snow-covered ice, okay? Use those UV chargers, UV flashlights if you got them. If you're in the shanty, That UV really charges those jigs up really bright, really fast. The other thing you can do is crack open a window and pitch that jig out there and get it into some sunlight. If you got, significant sunlight out there, the UV light from the daylight will also help charge those jigs up really fast. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I got anything else for you guys. I wanted to kind of keep this one pretty quick if I could. Got a lot of inventory just came in. I'm getting another load of jet sleds. Jet sleds is going to be the last one of the season. A lot of this stuff's going to be the last big loads of the season coming in. Should have more restocks. I know we got more bead spoons in. We got buckshots spoons in. We got a big load of jig and rapalas in, and I'll be getting more hopefully tomorrow as well. A bunch more line. We're trying to get ready, trying to get stocked up for that final push as we go into March Madness. And it should be kind of epic March Madness this year, because the way the forecast is going on the long ranges, we're going to stay really, really cold, like right up until the end of February. And then it looks like it's going to break and it's going to get much warmer. But with as much ice as we have out there, guys, we could still squeak out another 2 to 3 weeks into March. So we could be looking at, the end of March still being out on that lake ice, if we don't get like some kind of crazy super warm rain event when we go into March. But anyways, a lot of great fishing ahead of us. There's good fishing out there right now. A little bit of weather coming in for the weekend might make the bite go even better. So get out there, take advantage of it, and enjoy the great fishing we've got on Lake St. Clair. Hey gang, if you like our content, hit the little subscribe button and the bell icon, and you'll be notified as soon as we put out new stuff.